Hey everyone, welcome back to today's podcast. So, quick question. Have you ever sat down to work or study and suddenly found yourself scrolling through your phone, thinking about what to have for lunch or just spacing out? Staying focused is hard, especially with all the distractions around us. Whether it's work, school, or even personal projects, it seems like our brain is always looking for an escape.
Exactly. It's like the moment we need to concentrate, our mind rebels. But the good news is that focus isn't some magical thing you either have or you don't. It's a skill you can train. Today, we're diving into actionable tips and techniques that can help you train your brain to focus better and block out distractions.
Right. And we're going to look at what's actually happening in your brain when you're struggling to focus and how you can use that knowledge to your advantage. We'll break it down into practical steps so that by the end of this episode, you'll have some real strategies you can try immediately. So whether you're at work, studying, or just trying to stay present in a conversation, we've got you covered.
Stay tuned, because this episode is going to show you how to get your brain working for you, not against you.
Let's start with why it's so tough to stay focused in the first place. One big reason is that our environment is overloaded with distractions. We've got constant notifications from social media, emails, and even our own thoughts popping up. Our brains have become used to switching from one thing to another, and that makes it harder to stay on track.
Right. And every time you switch tasks or check your phone, it takes a few minutes for your brain to refocus. This is called attention residue. It's like leaving little bits of your attention behind every time you change gears. That's why multitasking feels exhausting. It's not efficient, and it divides your mental energy.
So, what's the fix? One of the best things you can do is reduce the number of distractions in your environment. If you're working on something important, try putting your phone on airplane mode or turning off notifications for a while. Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yes, and to add to that, using noise-canceling headphones or playing calming background music can help drown out external distractions. But don't forget about internal distractions too. Sometimes the problem isn't your phone, it's your mind wandering.
That's so true. You sit down to work, and suddenly you're thinking about what you're going to do this weekend. To combat this, I recommend something called the mindfulness check-in. Every so often, just stop for a few seconds and ask yourself, am I focused right now? If your mind has drifted, gently bring it back to the task at hand. It's like mental training for focus.
That's a great idea. And here's another technique I've found super helpful, the Pomodoro technique. It's simple, but really effective. You work for 25 minutes straight, no distractions, and then take a 5-minute break. After 4 rounds, take a longer break, like 15 or 30 minutes. This gives your brain a chance to rest and refocus.
I love the Pomodoro technique because it creates a sense of urgency. When you know you only have 25 minutes, you push yourself to get as much done as possible, and the breaks stop you from burning out. But here's something else people forget. What you eat and drink can also affect your focus. If you're loading up on sugary snacks or too much caffeine, it might give you a temporary boost, but it usually leads to a crash later.
That's a great point. Staying hydrated and eating foods that support brain health like nuts, fruits, and vegetables can really help maintain focus throughout the day. Speaking of which, I've noticed that even light exercise can improve my ability to focus. After sitting for too long, my brain starts to get foggy, but a quick walk or stretching session can really clear things up.
Yes, exercise is like hitting the refresh button for your brain. Even just 10 minutes of movement can make a huge difference. But let's also talk about sleep because that's a big one. When you're sleep deprived, it's almost impossible to stay focused, no matter how hard you try. Your brain just can't function at full capacity when it's tired.
Exactly. Sleep is when your brain resets and processes everything from the day. If you're running on fumes, your focus will definitely suffer. So, getting enough rest is critical for concentration and overall mental performance.
Another thing to consider is how you structure your work. If you've got a huge task in front of you, it can feel overwhelming, and your brain might try to avoid it. Breaking it down into smaller, manageable steps can make it less intimidating and easier to focus on each part.
That's so true. It's all about momentum. Once you get started on the first small step, the rest becomes easier. And speaking of small steps, practicing mindfulness is a great way to build your focus over time. Even something as simple as 5 minutes of deep breathing or meditation can help train your brain to stay present.
Definitely. And I think it's important to remind people that focus isn't about being perfect all the time. It's normal for your mind to wander. It's part of how the brain works. The goal is to notice when it happens and gently guide it back to the task. Over time, your ability to stay focused will improve.
Right. It's all about progress, not perfection. And I'd say the key takeaway here is to be intentional with your focus. Create an environment that supports it. Take care of your body and mind, and don't be too hard on yourself if you get distracted. It's a process.
All right, let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot today, but the main point is this. Staying focused isn't something that happens automatically. It's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice and intention. By reducing distractions, using techniques like the Pomodoro, taking care of your physical and mental health, and practicing mindfulness, you can train your brain to focus better.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making small improvements over time. If you can even get just a little bit better at focusing each day, that progress adds up. So start with 1 or 2 of the strategies we talked about today and build from there.
We'd love to hear from you guys. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to staying focused? And what strategies do you plan to try out? Let us know in the comments, and feel free to share any other tips that have worked for you. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yeah, drop us a comment and share your thoughts. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes filled with more tips and tricks for improving your life and productivity. Until next time, stay focused, stay mindful, and keep improving.
Distractions, meaning things that take your attention away from what you are doing. Example, I turned off my phone to avoid distractions while studying. Mindfulness, meaning the practice of focusing your attention on the present moment, being aware of your thoughts and surroundings. Example, mindfulness can help you concentrate better by keeping your mind in the present. Pomodoro technique, meaning a time management method where you work in short, focused bursts, usually 25 minutes, followed by a break. Example, using the Pomodoro technique, I was able to complete my assignment without feeling overwhelmed. Burnout, meaning a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress, Example: after working nonstop for weeks, I started to feel burnout and had to take a break. Caffeine, meaning a substance found in coffee, tea, and other drinks that stimulates the brain and nervous system, often used to increase alertness. Example: too much caffeine can make it hard to focus after the initial boost wears off. Overwhelming, meaning very intense or difficult to deal with, making you feel like you can't handle it. Example: the amount of work was overwhelming, but breaking it into small tasks made it manageable. Capacity, meaning the maximum ability or potential of something, especially in terms of mental or physical power. Example: after a good night's sleep, my brain was working at full capacity.